Just finished up my railroad station. Redid that. Another facility done. That's the green, semi-transparent, arched roof. Looks good. Blends with everything else. I'd like to see the trains become something that you have to manually build, or that are defined in like the Orbat file. Not every country had freight trains in 1936, so it would make sense to implement that data for countries that did, and then have them controlled by more manual commands. As opposed to being auto-generated continuous numbers for units being transported. It would make it strategically interesting for certain countries to have freight trains for transporting troops, and you could target them for strategic purposes in an effort to disable countries' ability to transport troops and equipment efficiently and in mass. I think that would be pretty cool. And then that would provide further use for something like a railroad station. Right now it's a supply depot. And I put one at every location that had a significant railroad station in 1936 throughout the world that I've researched so far, most of the world, per country. So even with minimal functions, they're still pretty cool facility. It looks cool, and it serves a supply function, which makes sense for what it is in regard to being a primary transportation hub of both leisure and economic factors to consider. Alright, game is going excellent. Everything is very balanced. The economy is very nice to manage. 3 million in the negative on a daily. I'm not I'm carefully defining my economy, but I'm not compromising anything. It's working really well. All the costs and resources and commodities are adjusted pretty well. Outputs and consumptions are pretty close to being in line with historical. This is now up from historical because I've built additional coal mines since the starting point of the scenario. I've discovered where my trade compiler is. This is what I've got coming in. 108,000 tons of agriculture daily, compiled, not from just one source. I don't have the world market available to me as Germany. I have to do trades manually throughout the world. But this is where my totals are compiled right here. 108,000 tons, 109,000 tons from stock to trade. It's supposed to say from trade to stock, but I think that's the way it's just laid out. And if it were me exporting more than I had coming in, it would just have a red number there with a negative asterisk next to it. That would indicate that it's outgoing. So in the yellow, which is a positive from trade. That's the most basic way to describe what this is, this header. That's why I'm coming in. That's what I'm producing. So essentially my total for daily production in agriculture is 220,000 tons, roughly. And I use 161,000 tons, so I'm gaining 40,000 tons every single day. So that's good. I invested heaviest into agriculture imports, and I've been buying coal and petroleum in bulk from the United States while I have the opportunity to do so. And then I've been reselling that for considerably large profits to my allies. And this is all going well. I'm only using the restricted refugee quantities. I haven't touched the open immigration or immigration controls yet, as I really haven't had to. That's a pretty healthy balance. Gives me reasonably good consistency in regard to these numbers, consumptions and production outputs, and my taxes. I've only had to touch a handful of times over the course of the first almost 2 years of gameplay, and that's now dropped recently. So the value of military goods on the market values went up considerably, but all these numbers are holding pretty steady. This is because of the war in China now. All these have to be readjusted, but these are fluctuating at a comfortable rate as well. I have to adjust these maybe once every 4 to 6 months in the game to keep them at a competitive market rate. And I believe that this will tie into what I sell goods to other countries for when I go into my trade counter. That's the rate that I'm selling goods. If I were to sell agriculture to Italy, it would be at that market price, regardless of whether you use the world market or not. I'm pretty sure that's how that factors into the game. Consumer prices are set here, domestic prices. I typically have my consumer goods cost down a little lower, but I come to realize I don't really have to drop it that much lower. I can still get a positive response from my domestic population via other methods of approach in the game, as opposed to selling them consumer goods for really cheap, because then it throws the actual use way up and it's almost unmanageable. So this is going really well. Combat systems are going really well. Economics and the manageable nature of the game, really well. Japan's units I still have to revise, so they still look kind of cheesy, but eventually they'll look just as good as Germany's, as well as China's. This is the second Sinyo is now playing out. Just started. Good strong response. It always has a pretty strong. It always has had a pretty strong response in the game, but now it's continuously continuously responsive throughout the war and its happenings. In other words, once they accomplish one goal, once they accomplish one objective, then the AI is going to go to the next. I've already showed a video of this happening with Supreme Ruler Ultimate. Works really well. So the second Senior War works out great. For the first few years anyway. I still have to finish detailing the remainder of it. Spanish Civil War is going very well. And I'm currently putting together my own units, my own divisions throughout my country. These are offensive divisions that I'm going to reserve back here. I got my front lines garrisoned with the typical ex-garrison, and then I'm going to back that up with machine gunners and packs. And it'll get a little bit more elaborate than that, but in a generalized sense, this is what I'm doing. These are SS Grenadier divisions. They're going to have the 88s, the mobile 88s. I just bought a Fiat 6.5 ton truck to transport my flak 105s because these don't move. I have to transport them manually. My Henschel 3 tons aren't. They don't have a big enough capacity to move these guns, so I had to buy one from Italy. It did, the 6.5 ton Fiat 3-row, or Lancia 3-row, I think it is. Yeah, Lancia 3-row. That's on its way here. I bought a unit from Benito Mussolini. He sold me a unit that was in active combat in Spain, so I had to pull that out of the combat zone manually. And it took some damage on its way out, so I'll repair that once it gets to port, and then I'll be able to move my guns to their seated location. And if I want to move them elsewhere again, I have to do that manually. That goes for the 105 millimeters anti-aircraft guns and the 128 millimeter anti-aircraft guns for Germany. I haven't done that for anybody else yet because I don't think the AI will effectively be able to respond to that need in regard to movement. So all the heavy guns move manually, or in an automated way defined by the unit file for the AI nations. I'm just experimenting with this feature to see how I like it. Same thing goes with the heavy cannons. I made the missiles or the shells for the Gustav and the K5 gun. The purpose of that is not to improve the quality of the gameplay. It's to make it distracting because they're very powerful guns, and it's supposed to be more of a pain in the ass now to utilize those guns, because otherwise the Gustav and the K5 would be very, very powerful cannons that you could just send into battle, protect them, and have extremely long ranges at an endless rate of fire based on consistency of the supply model, which would make the game kind of unfair. So it balances it out, makes it more realistic, in my opinion, having to manually load those guns and fire them, because they are very powerful and effective, but they're going to be kind of a pain in the ass to use because you're going to have to manually load the gun with shells, send it to where you want it to fire, then you got to tell it where to fire, and you got to press fire. So you're going to have to do all that manually. So it'll make the guns still very effective, but kind of a pain in the ass to use, and not likely that they'll be overused and offset the historical nature of the game overall. I did that on purpose. Okay, that's my game update. It's going extremely well. I'm really happy with it, and I'm enjoying this. Love Jack.